Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about how to enter accommodations and modifications in SIRAS. This is not the process of how to enter them during a normal IEP meeting, but this is a one-time project that we're going to need to do as a result of the SACE to SIRAS transition. So due to the SACE to SIRAS transition, statewide accommodations, which were already agreed upon at the student's IEP, will need to be entered into SACE. So for example, SIRAS, not SACE. For example, if a student had an IEP in May of 2021, the IEP team's already met, they've agreed upon those accommodations or modifications. We simply need to get those into the SIRAS system so that when it's time for the statewide testing to occur, we can make sure that those accommodations get entered into the statewide database. So any IEP that's been held since implementation of SIRAS, those should already be entered into the system. So if we had an annual in September or October, then those should already be entered. So we don't need to worry about those students. But if we have an annual, for example, in March or a triennial in April, those students we do need to make sure get entered in now. So if we have any students in grades 3 through 8, 9th, 11th, or 12th, those accommodations and modifications need to be transferred into SIRAS if they've not already been entered during an IEP this year. So which tests are students going to be taking? This hasn't changed, but just as a reminder that students in grade 3 through 8 and 11, they take the English Language Arts and Math test. In addition, they take the science in grades 5, 8, and 12th grade here at PCOE. And the physical fitness test we take in grades 5, 7, and 9th. As far as how do you actually transfer them, you're going to look at the last agreed upon statewide accommodation page. So you're going to want to probably pull that down from SACE. You can log in from your into your SACE from last year and look at what was agreed upon. Please make sure there wasn't an accommodation, or an amendment that was done. And so if there was an amendment that was done, please make sure it was the last agreed upon. And so make sure that that's printed out. And so once that's printed out, you can go ahead and enter that into SIRAS. If you can't have access to the student in SACE, you may want to look in the cumulative file for that paper. If you cannot find any of those, please talk to your coordinator and we'll work on hunting that down. You're going to log into SIRAS, select the student that you're going to be working on, and then you're going to go ahead and go to to the student info, special education profile, assessment info, CASP. Use the CASP matrix if you need to. The CASP matrix, on a side note, is really beneficial when you need to use that for looking up what is an accommodation that's appropriate for a student, understanding what the accommodation is it an embedded accommodation, is it a designated support, etc. Deadline to complete this is December 10th to ensure all the accommodations are entered into the system. If you have a student who has an IEP between August and December 10th, they should already be entered. Now again, that IEP will have already had to have discussed statewide accommodations. So if that IEP did not discuss statewide accommodations, you'll need to make sure that you still enter them. Personally, I would check all of your students. It shouldn't take time. So even if you have had an IEP for a student this year, you may just want to double check that those accommodations have been entered in. Okay, so now we're going to actually show how to do this. Like I talked about, the assessment matrix is really helpful for being able to see which supports are universal tools, designated supports, accommodations as part of the CASP system. And so on here, you'll be able to look at what are universal tools, designated supports, accommodations. You can scroll through and you can look at them. It also provides a description of each of the tools and what tests that they are available on. And so this will be attached to the email that will come out and also in the update. And so please utilize this not only for this project, but also when you're looking at a student and what's appropriate for their testing and accommodations. Now here is a student, I've deleted the name, but here's a student that we need to go ahead and enter their accommodations in. And so you'll notice that this student has a designated support, which is embedded of print size of 2.5. They also have designated supports of read aloud separate setting, and they have a non-embedded of alternative response and a read aloud for passages. So we need to make sure all of these get entered into the SIRAS system. Hi, so I'm going to be working in the training server, and I'm going to look up a student, Michael Scott, and I'm going to go ahead and go to enter in his accommodations. So student profile, I'm going to go student info, student profile, assessment info, CASP. And on here, you're going to see the 3 different tests: ELA, math, science, and physical fitness. So remember, my student, I need to look back. My student had print size, which was a designated support, along with read aloud and separate setting. So let's go ahead and just enter just those ones for now. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to put that this student is going to have, now it's going to make you select one of these. So is it having with no supports? Because remember, if you look at the test, this student is taking an alternative test, and they do have accommodations listed. So I'm going to put that they have accommodations. And on here, it's going to ask what accommodations. Over here, this level and score, you do not need to enter anything here, so don't worry about that. So the first thing was print size. So I'm going to need to scroll down, and there's a long list, and I apologize, but it's print size 2.5. And then it also had, I'm sorry, I forgot, my memory's a little bad, read aloud and separate setting and alternative response. So I'm going to do read aloud, and then there was read aloud passages and read aloud right there. And there was also separate setting. I want to double check. Separate setting, and then alternative response. So, separate setting and alternative response. So once I have all of those entered, I've finished with that one. For time's sake of the video, I'm not going to keep going through math or science, but you want to just make sure that each of them are get entered. If the student is in the grade, so let's just say, for example, the student's in 7th grade, and they're going to take a physical fitness test. So we do want to make sure that the physical fitness test gets entered. So I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to have tests and accommodations, and I need to enter in what are those accommodations that need to be entered. So you'll just need to drop each of those down. If you're having trouble, please talk to your program coordinator, but each of those need to get entered for each test. If she's a 7th grader, she won't be taking a test, and so right here, you're going to put exempt. She's at a grade level, and so you just need to make sure that each of these 4 tests have some sort of drop down that are entered for each of them. If you have any questions, please feel free to let us know. If not, thank you so much, and we'll look forward to having all this entered by December 10th. Thank you very much. Have a good day.